up just for them to even have a chance in overtime. So I don't know, man. I mean, you're right, Spring. At the end of the day, we as in the Avs have run into a hot team, but I think it could have been avoided. I'm not going to, rain on anybody's parade today. I'm not here to be that guy, but I do think we'd be remiss if we didn't just be honest about the fact that the Avs potentially let one get away.
That's the way it goes sometimes. This game was in Minnesota, sold-out crowd, Black Friday. They were up for it. If this game was in Colorado, I think it goes differently. I think the Avs win this game if this is at Ball Arena. And the Avs have 5 losses. They're 1-5 beyond regulation. Wait, now make it 1-6. They're now 1-6 beyond regulation. Came into tonight 1-5. They won their last one in Vancouver a couple weekends ago. They finally got off the schneid beyond regulation. This game goes to a shootout. Overtime was interesting. Neither team really wanted to make a mistake. Both teams were kind of playing for possession and to not have an egregious turnover that led to a breakout the other way. Lots of pullouts. When they realized that they didn't have a look in the offensive zone, they just pull it out into the neutral zone. And it was a very patient overtime. No real dangerous looks for either side. Goes to a shootout. Matt Zuccarello, really nice move. Fakes backhand, goes forehand to beat Scott Wedgwood. Same thing for Marty Necas. That's the best shootout goal of the season that Marty Necas scored. And it ultimately was decided by Matt Boldy having a really nice move to beat Scott Wedgwood. You lose in a shootout. The Avs are 6 losses beyond regulation this season. They're not great in overtime. I did like how they started with Landeskog and McKinnon instead of the McKinnon-Necas look that we got earlier this season. They don't have guys like that. Necas move in the shootout was by far the best move that any Avs player has put in the shootout. They don't have guys that like Nathan McKinnon is great in a breakaway in 5-on-5 open ice because it just scares the living hell out of the goaltender because you got this bulldog coming at you. It's not the same in a shootout. Nate's not great in shootouts. The Avs are not built for shootouts. They're really not built for overtime. Guess what? When you get to the playoffs, you don't have to deal with that. I tip my cap to the Wild. They got the good young goalie. Kaprizov lived up to his contract today. There's good young talent like Aziz Bouillum who went to DU on this team. Minnesota's a good team. If this is who your 10-game win streak ends to in their building and you still get a point, I'll take that all day.
All right, I'm with you there. There's no doubt. I won't be mad at a point. I won't ever be mad at a point. Your partner in crime on Between the Pipes, Raj, he believes that these early overtime games, don't worry about them. As long as you get a point here in the regular season.
Get your points. Get your points.
Get your points. I respect it. I honor that. I guess I had to come to the realization as well that at the end of the day, whether the Avs win the President's Trophy or not, it doesn't matter. They're going to be perfectly seated where they need to be in the playoffs. And they won't, like you just said, have to face that factor of running into a shootout in the playoffs. So, I mean, if we're looking at it from that perspective, then everything you're saying is absolutely right. I just don't want to turn a blind eye to the fact that they are struggling in overtime this season thus far.
They are. One regulation loss still here on Black Friday. And the next closest team in the NHL with regulation losses is the Dallas Stars with 5.
It's not bad.
One. Think about that. Let that sink in. One regulation loss
through October and November,
through Black Friday. One regulation loss. That's absurd. They're the first team in the NHL to 40 points. Okay, now Dallas has won 2 straight. They are 6 points behind you. They will host the Utah Mammoth tonight, so we'll see what Dallas and Utah turns out to be. Will Dallas end the night 4 points back at Colorado, or remain at 6, maybe 5 back if they lose in overtime or a shootout? It's annoying. Look, no team in the race for the President's Trophy is going to come down to the 2 teams in the Central Division. It's Colorado and Dallas. Those are the 2 best teams in the league.
By far. So let me ask you this. Let's take away overtime for a second. Is this the best start to a season in Avs history? Taking away what has transpired in overtime. Let's take overtime out of this. Is this the best start to an Avs season in Avs history?
Well, it's right up there with the year they won the Cup in 01, in 2001. I mean, yeah, they are an absolute wagon. They lose in overtime today. I'm not concerned about it. I wish we could come on here and be like, oh my gosh, the Avs are invincible. They cannot be stopped. They're the best team in the NHL. They were stopped via shootout today. That's fine. They'll turn around. They'll play Montreal tomorrow. Montreal won in Vegas today, 4-1. Vegas was a team that I was looking at as like, hey, I think they could win the Pacific. Not so much so far, at least. They've lost 4 in a row. Montreal is plucky. They've been up and down of late, but started the season real strong. In fact, Montreal has vaulted to the 2 seed in the Atlantic right now, right behind Tampa, who beat the Red Wings and are on a 6-game win streak. Right now, as it stands, we're headed towards a rematch. If you're the 2 best teams in my eye, East to West, it's a rematch from 2022. It's Avs Lightning all over again. Now, we'll see if we get there. But yeah, I expect Colorado to turn around tomorrow. Mackenzie Blackwood will get the nod tomorrow. We got the 6-0 shutout win against the Sharks on Wednesday. Got the shutout win in Nashville last weekend. Blackwood will start tomorrow. I think Nichushkin's close to returning from what I've seen.
Yeah.
I haven't seen an update. He obviously did not play today. Maybe he plays tomorrow. Even if he doesn't, Montreal's young. The Avs are now going to have a chip on their shoulder, and they can keep that point streak going and get a win streak going just like that. They can get a 1-game win streak going tomorrow when they host a very good but young Montreal team. Everything's fine with the Avs. Everything's fine with the Avs, KJ.
I'm going to take your word for it. And through the little birdies that me and Bert were kind of researching during the game, it looks like Val is going to do all he can to try to come back tomorrow. So,
hey, you get him back tomorrow. Holy cow. Holy cow. And that was a great hockey game today. Like
it was
damn near 40 shots. I think 40 shots ish a piece for each team. Goes to a shootout, 2-2. Great hockey game. Minnesota, you can get that one. We'll see what happens when the Wild come to Ball Arena later this season. So it is a Bud Light Football Friday, KJ. We got Broncos. We need to talk. Obviously, a gigantic NBA Cup game tonight. If the Nuggets beat the Spurs tonight, they will advance to the round of 8, the Elite 8.
The Elite 8, baby. Let's go. Let's go.
Is there a better Elite 8 than this Elite 8? No, there's not.
No, it is not. Don't sit up here and text us on a text line with better versions of this. We won't.
No, the NBA Cup is peak, and the Nuggets can advance tonight. But, of course, the Broncos play Sunday Night Football. Man, I loved watching football. I just mainlined it yesterday.
Oh, same.
On Thanksgiving. I wasn't in a food coma. I was in a football coma. And now the Broncos, they'll get their national TV shot on Sunday night in Washington against the Commanders. No Mike Tirico, Jason Garrett. I don't care about Jason Garrett's John Madden stories. Those bored me. Okay, I love John Madden. We get Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico on Sunday night. Broncos, Commanders. Is this a trap game? Let's ask Jeff Legwold. He's gonna come on next. Our Broncos insider from ESPN.com, Jeff Legwold, will join myself. I'm Mark Springer and KJ Granderson. On the other side, we're talking Broncos, we're talking Manders, we're talking Sunday Night Football. Broncos look to get to 10-2 on the season. That's next on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Welcome back to Kreckman and Lindahl. Mark Springer, KJ Granderson with Chris Mitchell producing. We're taking you up to 7 p.m. for Nugget Spurs pregame massive NBA Cup game tonight. We will preview that as this show goes along, but also a big Sunday night football game. The Avs. The Avs lost to the Wild.
There you go.
3-2 in a shootout today. How about the Broncos? Man, they're cruising along. They're on an 8-game win streak, even though the last handful have been interesting. They're looking to make it 9 Sunday night in D.C. against the Commanders. Let's go out to the Ramos Law hotline right now and bring in our Broncos insider, Jeff Legwall, to preview this game between the Broncos and the Commanders. Jeff, how you doing on this Black Friday?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We are doing well. So Leggy, Pat Surtain, full participant in practice the last 2 days, no injury designation. It appears he is playing on Sunday night. Leggy, is Pat Surtain going to be wearing a brace? Is he braceless? How close to 100% is that pec, do you know?
Well, he says it's 100%, and he said after practice today he will wear a brace, but I think that's more precautionary than anything else. I always liken it to Champ Bailey injured his shoulder early on in his time in Denver in a game in Miami, and basically wore a brace for the remainder of his career because of it. But it never really affected his mobility. He just got so he liked the kind of how it felt supported or whatever the joint did. So I think the brace is a precaution. He says he's ready to roll, and I thought it was interesting. He said it's the longest he's ever gone in his entire football life without playing in a game. So I thought that was pretty funny, and he's been pretty fortunate.
The Broncos, they've always been pretty clear about this being the presumptive date that they thought that Surtain would be ready to come back and play. How confident are they in his ability to be 100%, to be the full Patrick Surtain coming up on this Sunday when he returns?
Well, I don't think you ever know until he's, has to go low and make a tackle, or, sticks his arm out in traffic and somebody runs through it or runs into it. So he probably doesn't have all the answers he needs to play, but at the last 3 days in practice, I watched him carefully during the time we were in there, and he didn't seem limited in any way and how he was contacting receivers and going through the, kind of the jam at the line of scrimmage and, contact down the field. He didn't look any different to me, but obviously game speed is game speed, but he really thinks he's ready to go, and he's too important of a player. They wouldn't have cleared him if there was any doubt in their mind at this point. He's ready to go. There's no point in putting him back out there, a week early or something if he's not ready. So I think, medically they've got him where they think he needs to be, but all of those answers you probably don't have until he makes some tackles and has to reach for some passes to deflect them away.
Leggy, we know that, or at least it appears very, very likely that Terry McLaurin is going to return from another quad setback. He's gonna play Sunday night, so it helps to have Surtain out there. But do you think that maybe they would have Surtain on a pitch count? You would also maybe, now Riley Moss goes back opposite Surtain, but could we see more snaps for Jahdae Barron on the outside, maybe in lieu of Moss at any point? Or if Surtain were to be on a pitch count, could we see more Barron on the outside?
I think they're in nickel so often, Spring. I think Barron's going to get his snaps in those scenarios right now. I didn't get a sense today from Pat or anybody else with the team that there's any kind of pitch count. I think they're ready to put him back out there, and he's ready to go back out there and play his usual number snaps. And I think it will go back to, Barron and the nickel and dime in certain situations, with Jaquan McMillan. I think the guy whose snaps get impacted the most after playing a lot here in recent weeks is, Abrams Drain will probably take the biggest hit snap-wise. But, I think they like the look they got of Barron on the outside, and does that influence things later down the road when they're talking to Riley Moss about a contract? That, I think that answer comes later. But right now, I think they still see Riley Moss and Pat Surtain as their top two, and Barron as a guy they want to get on the field as much as possible, and will find ways to do it.
Our ESPN Broncos insider Jeff Legwald joins us on the Ramos Law Hotline. Car accident, you need Ramos Law, medical doctor and attorney, ramoslaw.com. Jeff, earlier this week, Sean, he talked about there's only one team that can get a bye week. And he's putting a little bit more emphasis on that with his team, more so now than I think he did earlier in the season, because now he can see that there is a realistic chance that they can get there. If you're Sean Payton, from game to game, how do you have the conversation with your team knowing that the majority of these games down the stretch kind of fit in the category of a trap game? How do you help them to avoid putting themselves mentally in the mindset of it's easy or that I can overlook this game? How do they avoid the mindset of potentially falling into a trap game?
Yeah, I think at this point in the year, when you've got something on the table as big as having the only playoff bye in the AFC and getting the week off and getting a home game advantage all the way through, all you have to keep doing is showing people the math of that. Your chances of winning go way up if you're the team with the home field advantage, if you're the team with the week off. So I think the players are smart enough to understand that it'd be really good for them if they had that number one seed. And I think that keeps everything in perspective. And I think some of the older players in the locker room who've been around here, especially Sutton and Garrett Bowles, are pretty quick to tell everybody, hey, don't blow these kinds of opportunities because you don't know how many times you're going to have a chance at something like that. So I think that all keeps their attention where it needs to be. And frankly, I think they all know football. It's their living. So they know football well enough to have seen the scores of their games. They're not running roughshod through their schedule. They're battling and scrapping to just get wins, and they've done it well. But I don't get a sense they have a false sense of where they are right now. So I think that's the biggest thing that keeps you in line if you're a team that's really worthy of chasing that number one seed.
Hey, Leggy, are the Kansas City Chiefs cooked, and what do you make of the AFC playoff picture right now with the Chiefs now at 6-6? On the very much so on the outside looking in. The Ravens lose to a returning Joe Burrow last night. They fall to 6-6. Buffalo loses to Davis Mills, lost in Miami. They're 7-4, a little better than Baltimore and Kansas City. What do you make? I mean, those three traditional powers are all struggling in their own way. What do you make of the AFC right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's what people expected, to be sure. And, I'll include myself on that list.
All of us.
I've said all along, if you're one of these other teams and you get a playoff field that doesn't include Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, I mean, you've got to be ecstatic if you're one of the other teams and you get that scenario. And if for some reason, I mean, Buffalo, both of their starting tackles are not going to play this week. And they're coming off a game when Josh Allen was sacked 8 times. And they're going into this game without their starting tackles. They can't feel very good about where they are. And if for some reason they stumble down the stretch and you have 3 quarterbacks who've been who've won the MVP award who are not in the playoff field. I mean, that would be unbelievable if you're one of the other teams.
Jeff, if you had to rank these teams in order of teams that will potentially fall off down the stretch in the AFC as far as vying for that number one seed, Broncos, Colts, Patriots, rank them and explain why do you think your number one team would eventually fall down the list as we are coming down the home stretch here of the NFL regular season?
Well, I think of those three, the Colts have the toughest way to go because no one is quite sure how serious the injury to Daniel Jones really is. I mean, the Colts are sure, but if that is indeed a fracture, which has been reported, that's going to be really hard for him to play on, and it will be something that will come up during games when he gets hit or has to get away. It's certainly a significant pain issue, and I saw the video from practice the other day, and he didn't look good at all moving around. So I think their spot's the most tenuous. The Broncos and the Patriots, you know, the advantage they have right now, both of them, is you know, their record in conference and in their own division. You know, I think those are the things that the tiebreaker stuff. Since the Patriots and the Broncos don't play, the biggest thing for everybody here to keep an eye on is what's your AFC record. You know, and then after that, if a third team's in that mix, then it's common opponents and everything like that. But if it comes down to Patriots, Broncos for that number one seed, you're going to be looking at, you know, AFC record as one of the most important tiebreakers. So that makes the Broncos games against Jacksonville, you know, the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Raiders, that makes them immensely important.
All right, last thing for you, Leggy. What do you want? What do you need to see from the Broncos offense that maybe we haven't seen on Sunday night? Is it more of a commitment to the run game, RJ Harvey establishing himself as a guy who can take over for the injured J.K. Dobbins? Is it quicker to the line of scrimmage with shorter play calls? What do you want to see from this offense on Sunday?
Well, I mean, Spring, I think it depends on how hard is it raining. You know,
sure.
If you get the weather report that everyone's expecting, it may not be a game that lends itself for them to try a bunch of high flying things. You may just have to play the conditions. You know, a lot of short, quick hit things in the passing game when your receivers have the advantage of knowing where they're going if the footing's bad. And then just the run game in any foul weather day is always going to be important. And on a game like this, you know, turnovers can lose it for you against a team you've had a better year than, and you should probably handle if all things are equal. But turnovers are always the most amazing metric of all, no matter how much we dive into the analytics. And if it is indeed a crappy night like everyone's expecting, turnovers will decide it. And I think that's the thing I would keep an eye on in this one offensively. You know, don't give it away. Don't give them short fields. You know, don't limit your own scoring chances because you can't hang on to the ball.
He is Jeff Legwold. He is our Broncos insider. You read all of his stuff at ESPN.com. Leggy, thank you so much for coming on with the B team today. We appreciate you on this Black Friday.
Appreciate you so much, Leggy.
Anytime. Thanks, fellas. Take care.
He's the man. He is Jeff Legwold. I am Mark Springer. I'm alongside KJ Granderson here on this Friday. We're taking you up to 7 p.m. Nuggets, Spurs, massive NBA Cup game. The winner is through to the Elite Eight because the Spurs upset. Well, Drew Holiday didn't play for Portland. Yeah. I don't even know if Shaedon Sharpe played. I just kind of was scoreboard watching that game. Saw he was questionable going into that game, but the Spurs went in without Victor Wembanyama, without Stephon Castle, and beat the Blazers in Portland. That's the Tiago Splitter-led Blazers, not the Chauncey Billups-led Blazers.
Well, why would you say that, Spring? Why would you bring that up?
Saw
Why would
that
you bring
his
up old things?
bond was set at like $5 million. Yeah, Shaden Sharp did play off the bench in that game. And Spurs were still able to go get it done. Huge upset. But now the Nuggets, huge for the Nuggets. Really not that big of an upset considering no Drew Holiday. But San Antonio, Denver tonight. Winner goes to the final 8. We'll take you up to 7 for that. But KJ, when we come back, let's keep talking Broncos Commanders. And we will get into Nuggets Spurs as this show rolls along as we get you closer to 7 p.m. But we got to talk Sunday Night Football, Broncos Commanders on a Bud Light Football Friday. We'll do that next on the Kreckman and Lindahl Show, Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Hey, it's Kreckman and Lindahl. No Nate, no Andy. Here on this Black Friday, though, it's Mark Springer and KJ Granderson. It is a Bud Light football Friday. Got the Broncos at the Commanders on Sunday Night Football. Pat Surtain is going to return from his pec injury. The Broncos did not place him on injured reserve. Had he missed this game, I suppose you could have said, oh, you should have just put him on IR because you got to miss at least 4 games if you go on IR, and this would have been game number 4.
Right.
So according to plan, I'm not putting Surtain on IR. He only misses 3 games, and by game 4, he is back. Now, KJ, I will say this. I'm of the belief that they don't need Pat Surtain to win this game. But obviously, I mean, if he can go and it's no harm to re-injuring or further harming the pec, because I assume that thing's going to be not 100% the rest of the year.
I agree 1,000%. And I think we are at the point now where there's not going to be a easy game to quote unquote work Surtain back in. This is probably the only game that would qualify as that because we obviously know the schedule is only going to get tougher. They have the Raiders, which divisional games are never easy. Obviously, they still have the Chiefs, the Chargers, and so forth coming up down the stretch. So these are the little things that the Broncos are trying to play what I call chestnut checkers. And it's Surtain trying to be honest with himself and see where is he after this matchup versus where he'll be after the Raiders game versus where he'll be after X game, after Y game, right? And so I think this is the chess match that I think the Broncos are trying to see. If he doesn't feel great after this game, you know you can afford to sit him after the Raiders game. During the Raiders game and then bring him back the following week. So these are the little things that I think the Broncos are trying to work through and see with Patrick Surtain. How realistic is it that your pec can hold up against the Commanders? We know it won't be 100%, as Jeff Legwall told us, but being able to kind of get out there and see, okay, when does it hurt? Did it hurt when you did this? Did it hurt when you tried this? You'll only know that by real game action, which I credit Surtain for being honest with himself and saying, I think this is the game. I think I can give it a go.
I mean, if a pec injury is no joke. So if that's something that's going to linger the rest of the season, and if that's the case, and if he's good to go, then obviously you want him out there. You do, and I get it. The Commanders are on a 6-game losing streak.
Oh, boo.
Well, they're at home. Chance to end it, beat the mighty Broncos, beat that defense. Weird things happen in this league. This could be a trap game. You'd rather have Surtain out there than not have him out there. So if he's good to go, I get it. And I assume he is. I don't think anyone's doing anything foolish here. So great. You have Pat Surtain back out there. And it just shores up even more so this elite defense, in my opinion, the best overall unit in the NFL. The Broncos defense is better than any offense in the league right now. The Texans defense is great, but I'm putting the Broncos defense above it. Pat Surtain is the reigning defensive player of the year. Nick Bonito is having a season. He is unbelievable right now.
Out of control right now.
Jonathan Cooper popped up on the injury report this week with a thumb injury, but he's been full in practice all week. He's been tremendous opposite Bonito. The D-line, they shore it up with extending Malcolm Roach. Maybe JFM leaves in the offseason. Fine, you got them all now. You got everybody right now. Jonah Ellis, limited in practice all week with a hamstring injury. He's questionable. Just Alex Singleton's back from, testicular cancer. Yeah, and how do you not rally around that guy?
I mean, come on, man.
How does that not motivate you? What's interesting is, okay, so the Broncos, from what I saw earlier this week, opened as 6.5-point road favorites. Then it dipped down to 5.5. But then we got the news today that Pat Surtain is going to play. It was a little bit of a question mark. Line remains at 5.5. I think they should be bigger favorites. I'm surprised by this. Is this a trap game? KJ, tell me how do the Broncos lose this game? I know they barely beat the Raiders and they played some weird, dumb, close games against some inferior opponents. That being said, the defense is so good, and it's Marcus Mariota. I think Bo Nix is going to have to throw 4 interceptions in order for them to lose this game. I'm struggling to see how it can happen. Now watch, I say this and weird things happen, but in all reality, how do they lose this game?
Well, I think the number one way that they lose this game is the running game does not meet Bo Nix. It falls apart. It falls off a cliff. We are starting to see why they really miss J.K. Dobbins, right? That's like the number one way. And so factoring that into the equation, if you're the Broncos, this is a game to avoid this falling into a trap. This is a game where you're going to have to use a lot of RPO. This is going to be a heavy RPO game.
You better be careful they don't have illegal men downfield, because we've seen that they cleaned it up a little of late.
That is true. I'm hoping that these penalties will kind of slow down as we get towards the back half of the season. I think, as Jeff talked about earlier, like the guys, they understand the significance of the moment, and I hope that they start to put that into effect in regards to the penalties. But it's going to be, can the running game at least help Bo Nix a smidge? If the running game's not there, then that probably increases their chances of having multiple consecutive 3-and-outs, and it probably leads to them having a situation where the offense is stalled for so long that the defense is on the field for north of 35 minutes before the offense finally gets going. That's probably the recipe in Wentz. The Commanders start to feel a little hope in the pits of their stomach to where they're like, the Broncos really haven't been good. I mean, we could put our foot on the gas whenever we're ready and actually end this thing. That's the only way that I see the Broncos losing, is if Bo Nix doesn't have any help from his backs.
Even so, even if RJ Harvey isn't what J.K. Dobbins was, and Harvey's shown some signs.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing more Jaleel McLaughlin since then. Could we even see Bo Nix start to run the ball a little bit more, either off script, which might make Sean Payton pull out his hair, but Sean should understand that, that is part of Bo's arsenal that we haven't seen as much this year. I know Sean wants him in the pocket doing his Drew Brees thing. And he's not playing like Drew Brees. He played better against Kansas City. There's no doubt about it. Even if the Broncos' run game struggles, the Commanders have to score points. Marcus Mariota has to beat this defense. And I know Terry McLaurin is back, but this defense is so good that I just struggle to see Marcus Mariota being overly effective against it, any more so than Geno Smith was, who was able to muster 7 points against this defense. Now, it is in D.C. It is a road game as opposed to the home game against the Raiders. I just see turnovers. Turnovers are the only way that you can give the Commanders a shot in this game. If Nix is throwing picks, if Von Miller, who's going to be playing more because there's injuries up front for the Commanders, if he has one of those, games of his career late in his career. I mean, this is a huge game for Von Miller.
It is.
He loves his former Broncos. I'm sure he's going to get up for this one. But then again, he's going to have to beat Bowles. He's going to have to beat McGlinchey, depending on which side he's lined up on. Broncos have added a Mercedes Lewis for pass blocking purposes. It's gonna have to be turnovers. I don't know if it's hard, if it's a ball carrier fumbling, Nix getting strip sacked or being careless with the ball, Nix throwing picks. Turnovers are the only way I really see Washington even being in this game.
Well, I mean, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because truthfully, I don't know if Washington will be able to turn Bo Nix over as much as they think they can. Just due in large part to the fact that when Bo Nix is forced into a game, which we do believe he will be forced into due to the weather, a dink and dunk game, then it's very rare that he makes mistakes. It's when Bo Nix has a game where they're playing cover 2 or cover 4, and he's seeing his guys kind of beat the safety by like a step, and he has to fit the ball in there perfectly. But what he fails to realize is that safety sees that ball is not traveling at the speed of light like it should, and that safety's right there. That's when Bo Nix starts to get in trouble. So I think this game will probably favor Bo Nix from that perspective, which is why I do believe if this game gets ugly like the weather is predicting that it will, it's going to have to lean on RJ Harvey and Tyler Bidet and Jaleel McLaughlin, right? Can we trust those guys as a combination of backs to be able to handle their business, whether that's screens out of the backfield, whether that's up the gut runs, whether that's following the fullback around the edge? Like, these are all the things that I think are going to play a huge factor into if Bo Nix starts to become unglued or not.
Can the Commanders run the ball in the bad weather? What we got? Bill Krosky Merritt and Chris Rodriguez. It does not scare me.
No,
does not scare me.
Not at all.
You know what scares me is that the Broncos, they play the Chiefs. Now, I don't know what the Chiefs are, but they up their level offensively. They play clean. They play the Raiders, and they don't know what they're doing. They play the Jets, and they don't know what they're doing. So I just pretend it's not the Washington Commanders, and you're fine.
Well, you know what? Let's ask a bigger question here. What's going on with the city of Denver as a whole in regards to all of our teams feeling the need to play up or down to their competition? Like, what is that? I understand division games. Division games are always going to be tough. But for a team that knows that they should have the ability to turn it on, why do they refuse to just kind of take their foot off the gas? That's something I've never understood. I don't understand the psychology of it. I guess because I'm wired that if I have the chance to dominate, I'm gonna dominate. Like, there's no point in me taking the foot off the gas. I don't even want you to have any life. And I think that sometimes frustrates me about our teams here in Denver, especially the Broncos.
This should be a game where they kind of open this thing up.
Should.
Even if it's just on the back of their defense. The defense could score. There's a defensive touchdown for the defense written all over it in this thing to help open this thing up. And I keep referencing a few weeks ago, the last time that Jaden Daniels played was on Sunday Night Football hosting the Seahawks, and the Seahawks opened that thing up. I mean, they absolutely crushed the Commanders. I don't know what the Broncos are. I don't know if they're necessarily that open it up team or if they just are destined to play close games all season long. Hey, you can still win a championship even if that's the brand of football you play, because wins are wins. I find this interesting. Speaking of the Seahawks, and we briefly mentioned at the end of the last segment what happened yesterday on Thanksgiving, and it was just a couple weeks ago that the Chiefs were still favored to win the Super Bowl. No, not even close anymore.
Nope.
Chiefs are plus 1,600 to win the Super Bowl. I don't even know if they make the playoffs right now. They're 1-5 on the road.
It's crazy.
Chris Jones is still a very good defensive player, but I don't think he's as dominant as he was a couple seasons ago. They don't have that game record defensively.
Mm-hmm.
And offensively, Kelsey's older. Rashee Rice is very good, but not great, and does have a little bit of a hamstring thing going on. Mahomes is not at the height of his powers, playing well, but not at the height of his powers. The Rams are your clear-cut favorite to win the Super Bowl right now. It's actually not even close. Rams are plus 330 to win the Super Bowl. The team with the next best odds, you got two teams tied with the next best odds to win the Super Bowl. They are the Seattle Seahawks, the aforementioned Seahawks.
Wow.
At plus 950. And the Colts at plus 950, which is interesting considering Daniel Jones's broken/fractured fibula
that he's playing on or trying to play on.
Then you got the Patriots, the Packers, who the Broncos will see here in a few weeks, who won yesterday in Detroit. And the Broncos all at plus 1,000. The Eagles have dropped to plus 1,100, tied with the Bills at plus 1,100. Then you have the Chiefs at plus 1,600, the Ravens at plus 2,000. 1,000. Now, the reason that the Rams are such clear-cut favorites is because they have their defense is very good. I don't think it's the Broncos defense or even the Texans defense, but it's very good. And they also have a really good offense. So they're the most balanced team in the league. But hey, man, and the reason that the Seahawks are right there is they're just saying that they think they're the second best team in the NFC, which is odd. I wouldn't have guessed that coming into the season. They also have a really good defense, and Jackson Smith and Jigba is great offensively, and Darnold's competent. But they're saying maybe we'll see Rams Seahawks in the playoffs, and whoever wins that game, they'll give the edge to the Rams for sure. AFC's wide open right now. That Broncos defense, it's the best unit in the league. It can change a game.
It can.
It can wreck a game. Are the Bengals in this thing? Do you think that the Bengals are in this thing?
Yes.
After Joe Burrow came back, and I mean, that was a rather dominant win.
It was. I've never seen the Ravens look that discombobulated in some time. And again, we know they've lost earlier in the season, but I mean, what we saw yesterday in a game that honestly they should have won. I mean, I was looking at the Ravens like, oh man, this window is this thing is getting real close to closing here, if not already closed. Like, that's what I was looking at yesterday.
Injuries are starting to pile up on defense. The Bengals defense without Trey Hendrickson, they were pressuring Lamar. He looked confused at points. I knew when the Ravens blew that opening week road lead, like big road lead in Buffalo, and then Lamar gets hurt, and there's this sense of, oh, the Ravens can come back. Nah, you blow that game. I know it's week 1, but the Ravens love to blow those double-digit fourth-quarter leads. It's what they've done for the past few years. And Joe Burrow's a great quarterback. It's funny, we saw Joe Burrow and the Broncos go head-to-head late last season. That game went to overtime.
Yep.
So I do think that Cincinnati is somehow still alive, even at 4-8. And is Burrow the best quarterback in the league right now?
I would certainly say so. And that's no disrespect to Patrick Mahomes, but when we look at what Burrow's able to do and how he's just basically never out of games ever, you've got to kind of start to be honest with yourself and say, all right, Mahomes, it's okay if you take a back seat
who's the one quarterback who's beaten Joe Burrow in the AFC in the last handful of years in the AFC playoffs? The only one is Joe Burrow. He's the only one who's done it in the playoffs. Funny enough, Chiefs might not even make the playoffs this year. Someone else probably would do it this year because that Chiefs team is, man, I was giving them a shot, but holy cow, they look shot. They look absolutely shot. Yeah, Joe Burrow gives them life, but let's say even if he is the best quarterback in the league and the Broncos were to somehow match up with him in the playoffs, they almost got him in Cincinnati last year. The defense is a year older, a year wiser, a year more advanced.
Yeah, I'd agree with that 1,000%. I just don't. Even let's say they do make it in, like you said. Then what? That's my question. It's like, then what? Because you would have worked so hard to get in. Like, I'll run down their schedule here.
They can only win the North. They cannot get in as a wild card. They're going to have to win the North.
Absolutely. Here's their schedule the rest of the way. At Buffalo, at home versus Baltimore, at Miami. And I know a lot of people scoffed the Miami loss, the Miami game. Miami has won 3 or 4.
I will still scoff at it.
Okay, well, we'll see where Miami is by the time they meet them because Miami has the Jets and the Saints coming up.
No, Miami's benefited from a relatively easy schedule of late. They did beat Buffalo, and that's funny. This Bengals-Bills game here in 2 Sundays, that's a fascinating one.
Very much so.
Buffalo. I like the Bengals in that game.
I do too.
I think the Bengals can win out. As I look at this schedule, I think the Bengals can win out and win the North.
If they get past Buffalo, I don't see why not.
Yep.
Because everything else is right there in front of them. I mean, no disrespect to Arizona or Cleveland, which are the 2 teams they close the season against. Nobody's worried about them. Nobody's scared of them. like their seasons
If
are
the Bengals
so
are
over.
hot, if they keep this going, I expect T. Higgins will be back from his concussion maybe by the Buffalo game. Jamar Chase, I mean, he looked amazing, and when he has Burrow thrown into him, that could be your 3 seed
Easily.
in the AFC.
Easily.
Which would be dangerous, but still, even if they did get the 3 seed, even if they did win the North, ultimately, if the Broncos could do what they are supposed to do, they would have to go. If the Bengals could go on this magical run, they would have to go to Denver. We saw the Broncos host the Bengals earlier this year, and it was Jake Browning. It wasn't even close. It would be Burrow this time around.
It would. And how much of a difference would that make? How much of a difference would that make? Because like you just said, this defense is year over year better than they were last year. How much of a difference does Joe Burrow make in a game like that versus a team as good as the Broncos? Like, could he single-handedly beat the Broncos? Do you believe Joe Burrow could beat the Broncos single-handedly?
Well, it would be. I mean, that's the matchup, and we kind of were talking about it earlier this season until Burrow was out, and then it was Browning, and then it became what it was.
Right.
But when you have Higgins and Chase on the outside, that's a great matchup for Surtain and Moss or whoever. Like that's the type of two-headed monster that you could match up against this very good Broncos secondary. And Burrow's the type of quarterback who actually could score points on you. And then it becomes now the Broncos offense has to do something. And the Bengals defense, they're not great, but they play better when Burrow's out there.
They just do.
And when things matter, and if Trey Hendrickson is out there, it is a little bit of a game changer. That's interesting. I mean, Cincinnati it's amazing. This is the weirdest season in the AFC.
One of the weirdest I think I can remember in some years, man. Like this, I think the last time it was this weird was probably the first portion of the Patriots run when they were just starting to become what I would call a dynasty.
Yeah. I mean, your top 3 teams are Denver, New England, and Indy. I don't think anyone would have had those as your top 3 teams. No way.
No.
I know that Denver and New England were trendy sleeper picks, but nobody had them at 9-2 and 10-2. With New England host the Giants on Monday night, that could be 11-2. The Broncos could be 10-2 after the DC game. Nobody had that.
No.
Nobody had the Colts doing, in addition to the Broncos and the Patriots. Nobody had the Ravens and Chiefs at 6-6 and looking bad. Like, not even with a little bit of life. Buffalo struggling. And the most dangerous team, maybe you could argue, is a 4-8 team. That is absurd.
That is crazy.
That a 4-8 team might be the most dangerous team simply because they're in a division where the leader is 6-5, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they could run the table based on their schedule and having what might be the best quarterback in the league and the best wide receiver duo in the league, and they could be the most dangerous team going into the playoffs. Unbelievable.
Which is scary, which puts all of the more emphasis on why the Broncos have to get the number 1 seed, to get that bye and give that issue to someone else to open up the playoffs. Because if someone else can take care of the Bengals, then what we just talked about for 10 minutes, all of that is out the window. But if you slip to the number 2 seed and you have a situation where someone like like a Buffalo has to go and face the Bengals again because the Bengals won the AFC North, and then now the Bengals go on to beat Buffalo somehow, some way. And now you're kind of getting nervous because you're thinking to yourself, we may have to face the Bengals, because the Bengals, even without Joe Burrow this past Sunday, they put up a fight against New England. And I don't know what Will Campbell's going to look like, their left tackle, when he comes back off IR. So there's a lot of little intricacies for the Broncos that could get very interesting. It could get very interesting.
Weird, wild AFC with the Broncos potentially on the verge of going 10-2 this Sunday night in Washington. We'll continue previewing that matchup. We also got to get into this NBA Cup game here tonight. The Nuggets host the Spurs. It's a big one. There's nothing bigger than the NBA Cup. Don't tell me otherwise. We'll talk about that next when we come back. He's KJ Granderson. I'm Mark Springer. It's Kreckman and Lindahl. It's Altitude Sports Radio. Welcome back to Kreckman and Lindahl. It is Mark Springer and KJ Granderson with you here on this Black Friday. The Avs lost in a shootout in Minnesota today, but they keep they are now on a 14-game point streak. Goodbye, 10-game win streak. Hello, 14-game point streak. Avs first team in the NHL to 40 points on the season. We got the Broncos and the Commanders Sunday Night Football. Broncos look to get to 10-2 and improve their win streak to 9 games. And then, of course, tonight, massive NBA Cup game. The Nuggets host the Spurs. It is a battle for who will win West Group C.
Pretty much.
Whoever wins tonight is in, and whoever loses is out, because whoever loses falls to 2-2, you're out. You will not get that 4th wild card spot in the West, in the NBA Cup groups of the West. You need to win tonight, and you will advance to the final 8. KJ, I think the Nuggets are going to do it. I think they're going to advance to, for the first time in now the 3rd year of the NBA Cup's existence, the Nuggets have yet to advance to the final 8. I think this is the year. I no Wemby, no Stephon Castle. I know no Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown for the Nuggets, and that's probably going to hurt their chances to win the NBA Cup, which really hurts me. But
does it?
Yes, it does. KJ, let me ask you this. Would you rather win an NBA Cup or not win an NBA Cup?
If it means that I get to win a NBA championship in June?
There's no guarantee of that.
Listen,
those are mutually exclusive. Apples to oranges.
That's okay. I like mixing my apples and my oranges. So, but to answer the question,
you want to raise all the banners you can.
You do.
You put a banner up if you win the cup.
I agree, but you don't want to become the Lakers. And they put up any banner, and sometimes it's the banner of, "Hey guys, we traded for Luka Doncic." That's a banner for them. I don't want to become that type of banner team. So, with that being said, do I want them to win? Of course I want them to win. If they don't win, I don't want anyone to panic. That, I guess, that's ultimately what I'm getting at.
Okay, yes. Look, there's no doubt about that, okay? We're not calling for jobs if they don't win a cup. And look, man, if they had Gordon, even just Aaron Gordon, I think they could go win a cup. I think they'd have a great chance of doing so at least. But without AG for the next handful of weeks, it's going to be tough. But I do think Jokic is playing tonight. No Wemby. No Stephon Castle. They do have De'Aaron Fox.
They do.
They have other capable players. But Jokic is easily the best player on the floor without Wemby playing tonight. Even if Wemby was playing. But Wemby is a tricky matchup for Jokic.
He is.
Because he's so long.
He's the one player in the league that makes Jokic kind of adjust his game.
He is. He really is. I noticed it it was a late season game 2 years ago. And it affected the Nuggets seeding. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they were in San Antonio, and I'm watching this Jokic-Wemby matchup, and I'm just like, oh no. I mean, the Nuggets had a healthy lead in that game, and then San Antonio came back and won. But watching Wemby get in Jokic's face, because Jokic does like to kind of stretch the floor and, leak out to the three-point area, and he'll shoot threes from there. And the way that Wemby was able to close out on him, and even in the post, too, with the length that Wemby can put up just when he puts his arms up, it makes it tough on Jokic to go to work down there. He's the toughest matchup on Jokic in the league. It's going to be a very fascinating matchup for the next few years plus, probably, Wemby and Jokic. But no Wemby tonight. Jokic is out there. The Nuggets should absolutely win West Group C. And you look at who's going to advance out of the West. The Lakers are going to advance. They're 3-0 in their group. And they have the head-to-head over everybody because they play Dallas tonight, who's eliminated. So the Lakers are through. The Thunder and the Suns play tonight. The Suns and Thunder are both in West Group A. They're both 3-0. This game is in OKC. The Thunder are 10-point home favorites, as they should be. but I think that even the loser of that game is through in all likelihood. I think the Grizzlies could, if they beat the Clippers in West Group B by a decent margin, and maybe the Suns get blown out and hurts their point differential. But right now it looks like the Thunder and the Lakers are through. The Suns are probably through. And the winner of Nugget Spurs is through. So 3 of the 4 teams who are, or at least the 2 that are already through. The Thunder are already through. Even if the Thunder lose tonight, they have a plus 71 point differential in the NBA. That's by far and away the best.
No, that
but
is
the Thunder
crazy.
are insane. The Thunder are insane, and Jalen Williams is back too from injury.
He is, and he's gonna play. And I want to ask you this, Spring. Do you think they break the record this year? They're sitting at what you said. They're 17-1. Do you
18-1?
I'm sorry, 18-1.
Very good chance of moving to 19-1 tonight.
Do you think they catch Golden State?
That's 19-1 is pretty. That's incredible. They might. And it kind of is a league of your haves and your have-nots. But my point is, Thunder and Lakers are through. Those are the 2. There's 3 best teams in the West right now. It's the Thunder, it's the Nuggets, it's the Lakers. The Rockets are right there. You want to be in that group.
You want to.
Thunder are going through. Lakers are going through. If you're Denver, you want to go through. You want to join those 2 teams.
And you want to show them early on in the season, hey, you're not going to be able to avoid us. You're going to have to go through us.
Yes.
If you want to get where you want to go in the West. Now is the time.
Completely agree.
Now you got me psyched.
I'm telling you, I can
You got me
build
psyched now.
NBA, Adam Silver, give me money, and I will increase your NBA Cup ratings. I will hype this thing up. I will tell you every single reason why this thing is great. I won't say awesome, but great.
Hype it up, Spring. You better do it.
So it's a big game tonight. Nuggets got to win. Nuggets got to win.
They better win.
In West Group C, and beat the Spurs and join the Thunder, join the Lakers, and they'll probably play, let's say, I think they would play the Lakers in game 1. I think. Because the Thunder would be the 1 seed, the Lakers would be the 2 seed, the Nuggets would be the 3 seed, and the Suns probably would be the 4 seed.
Yeah.
So we'd probably get Lakers Nuggets game 1, and that game would be in LA. No AG, no Christian Brown. Now, hey, you could take the easy road. You want the easy road? You lose tonight, and then you don't have to play the Lakers on the road without AG and Christian Brown, and you play some other team. I don't know. Some impromptu NBA game. Is that how they do it? Do they just impromptu this thing?
Yeah, they kind of look at who you haven't played, and they factor in all kind of travel things of that nature. It's all kind of impromptu things that, like you said, we don't know the full circumstance. Now, like you said, they could play some random team. They could play the Kings for the 8th time this season. If they want to.
It'd be an easier win, but guess what? I don't want the easy road. I want to go to LA.
Well,
I want to go to LA in an NBA Cup game.
So you want to take down the Lakers again, is what you're saying?
Yes. Any chance you get to take down the Lakers, and it'd be even sweeter without Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown.
It would. I agree.
And then if you upset the Lakers, then you're going to Vegas.
You want to go to Vegas, Spring?
Nikola Jokic does Vegas.
You want the NBA to sponsor you to go to Vegas?
No, hey, if you want to send me there too, that's great. I want the Nuggets to go to Vegas and then probably play the Thunder. That would be your semifinal game, would be Nuggets Thunder.
Do I want that this early?
And that would be a regular season game too. Keep in mind, these are all regular season games. These games all count towards the regular season standings. So you can say Nuggets Spurs doesn't even matter at all tonight. Well, yeah, you want to get a win either way so that, you keep pace with the Thunder, and it's going to be hard to catch the Thunder, but maybe more so keeping pace with the Lakers, who are technically ahead of you in the standings, staying ahead of Houston, who's just behind you in the standings. if you get the Lakers head-to-head in a cup game, not only is it a cup game with a chance to go to Vegas, it's a chance to get a regular season win over the Lakers and move above them in the standings, and then possibly pick up a 2-game swing against the Thunder should you get them in the cup semifinals.
Listen, I'm not going to sit here and disagree with you, Spring. I guess my whole thing is we hear fans, I think, are 60-40 don't care. And so factoring that into the fact that, okay, you tell them that, hey, guys, the Nuggets, they're headed to the NBA Cup, you're more than likely going to get crickets because people are going to be like, okay, well, if they lose to the Lakers, if we believe that me and you believe that they can beat the Lakers. But if they do lose, then it'll be a I told you so fest of look at the Nuggets. They've been trying hard for no reason.
No, well, it'll be like, hey, they didn't have Aaron Gordon, they didn't have Christian Brown, and who cares about the cup anyways? But if you beat them, now you're like, hey, we love the cup.
Well,
and we just 2-game swing the Lakers. But yeah, if you lose, nobody really cares. But if you win, and look, I'm telling you, if you were to play a first round of the Elite Eight of the NBA Cup against the Lakers, it would hit just a little bit better than your run-of-the-mill regular season game, even against those same Lakers.
Right.
Like you would have a little and even if it's by 2%, you would have 2% more sense of urgency to sit in front of your television and watch that Nuggets game and get into it even more. And then if they went to Vegas and they were playing the Thunder, like we would, and it's funny because everybody going into that game would be like, it's the cup. If they lose, it doesn't matter. And you're not wrong. Like, you're right. But we'd be watching those games with a more degree of a playoff-like feel. And then you'd kind of break it down the next day. And yes, you would be like, hey, if they lose, it's a cup game. But it would kind of have that sense of, oh man, like this game does feel like it has just a little, even if it's 2%, just a little extra to it.
I agree. And I'll say this, Spring, like stars matter if you're going to make this NBA Cup thing a thing long term.
Mm-hmm.
So if your stars are playing in it and they're playing with like actual pace and veracity and they're playing with like intensity and tenacity, then I agree. This thing could have a potential playoff-like feel to it. But it eventually is going to have to take someone showing us what that looks like. Because I think in the first 2 years, there were games that we were like, ooh. But it wasn't like enough for us to go, ah.
You need the ah.
You need the ah.
It's one thing to ooh. It's another to ah.
You need the ah with your ooh, all right?
There's something about Nuggets Lakers games. There's something about Nuggets Thunder games. They hit different. And then when there is an opportunity to advance, even if it is a stupid little tournament, it's something. Like there's juice. Like there would but those two teams, when they were out there, like when that whistle blows, when that ball tips, they're going to want to win that thing. They are going to want to win that game. Not just because, really not even because it's an NBA Cup game, but because it's Nuggets Lakers. But because it's Nuggets Thunder. And let's see who's better. And especially you get Nuggets Thunder maybe in the second round on a neutral site, on a neutral floor.
Mm-hmm.
That's something too.
agree.
Who's better on a neutral floor?
Who's better? I would love to see what that looks like. I mean, not only that, I would love to see how the Nuggets would match up against someone out of the East, because there are several teams in the East that look really good right now that the Nuggets have not faced yet. The Toronto Raptors, they are looking really good. They're on I think it's a 9-game winning streak right now. Detroit, they just lost their first game in almost a month the other night to Boston. And so there are several teams out East that I think you've got to also gear yourself up for. And you also kind of want to get an early preview of like, okay, what would we be facing ourselves up against? What would we be matched up against?
Who could we face in the finals?
Who could we see in the finals? These are things that I think the Nuggets could be looking at here. See, this is people. This is why the radio machine is the radio machine.
I got KJ excited.
Dude, after 15 minutes, now I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, dog, like this NBA Cup could be like a real preview of what's to come because teams that have taken this serious thus far are going to be there. And that's no disrespect to the Rockets or anybody like that who won't make it because, things happen game to game.
Because they were in the group of death. Because the Rockets were in the group of death, and because the Nuggets went into Houston
and they got the win.
And that was a huge game on a Friday night.
And they almost let Reece Shepherd beat them, but they didn't. Mm-hmm. They didn't. Reece Shepherd, they had to put him down.
Hey man, and I think the West is definitely better than the East. There's no doubt about it. But you're right that it is kind of because it's the Thunder, because it's the Lakers, and in all likelihood the Nuggets advancing in the NBA Cup, it is a preview of what we're going to see in the playoffs. And they're not 7-game series coming up. They're one and dones. But even these one and dones coming up, Nuggets, Lakers, and then Lakers, Thunder, or Nuggets, Thunder, whatever comes next, both those games are going to be grinds.
Agreed.
They are going to be grinds. They're going to wear the winner of those games down. Even if they come out, and that's a thing we could see. Now, I think the winner of the West ultimately wins the finals, but the West could beat up on itself. The West could wear itself down where someone in the East maybe gets a little easier road and faces a tired West team, albeit a better team, a more elite team, but more beat down and tired because of the road that it had to go through in the West.
I agree, and I think that alone would probably make some teams a little nervous, knowing that you put yourself in a position where you've had to actually expend May energy in December.
Good news is, though, it's December. It's December. You still got an all-star break coming up. The Nuggets are deep, especially when everyone's healthy. You can manage minutes. I'm not concerned about them getting gassed for an entire season because they're playing a couple high leverage games and maybe an extra game should they go to the NBA Cup Finals.
Right. And
it would be an extra game, an 83rd game that only 2 teams would have to play this season. But guess what? You do it for the love of the cup.
Come on.
LeBron has a cup.
He sure does.
Giannis has a cup.
He does.
You want to know what would look great in Nikola Jokic's trophy room? A cup.
And he would only have just the 3rd one in the history of the league. Imagine how that sounds.
All right. I can't wait. We are 45 minutes away from the pregame coverage of Nugget Spurs. Winner of Nugget Spurs advances out of the group of death. I mean, imagine making it out of the group of death. That's something. And the Nuggets have a chance to do it tonight if they beat the Spurs. We're walking you up to pregame coverage. Tip-off will be just after 7:30 p.m. He is KJ Granderson. I'm Mark Springer. Chris Mitchell producing. Hey, when we come back, we're going to transition. It's still going to be myself and KJ, but we're going to transition into the Blitz, okay? We're going to image it up with the Blitz. I'm going to do my best Mark Bertinoli impression. We'll hear that on the other side. It's Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Yeah, it's the Blitz. It's my favorite show. It's your favorite show, too. I know it is. Don't lie to me. It's your guilty pleasure. I'm Mark Springer. I'm joined by KJ Granderson. Got Chris Mitchell on the ones and twos here on this Friday evening, getting you set for Nugget Spurs, NBA Cup action, Broncos Commanders on Sunday. Before KJ and I went on the air, and this afternoon on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5, we carried the Avalanche and the Wild. That game was in Minnesota. Avs were riding a 10-game win streak. Hadn't allowed a goal in like 220-something minutes of game action when they were up 1-0 after Nathan McKinnon scored in the first period in Minnesota, riding 3 straight shutout wins. Saturday in Nashville, Blackwood got the shutout. Sunday in Chicago, Wedgwood got the shutout. Wednesday against the Sharks, Blackwood got the shutout. Scott Wedgwood had a 1-0 lead and was shutting the Wild out here this afternoon until Kirill Kaprizov scored off of his skate to tie the game at 1. And then later in the second period, really nice feed to Kaprizov. He one-timed it, top shelf. Really good shot. I mean, there's nothing Wedgwood can do about that. And gave Minnesota a 2-1 lead. But then in the third period, Gabe Landeskog scored a grimy Gabe Landeskog net front goal. Sent it to overtime.
He did.
And then to a shootout we went, and the Wild won in the shootout. But Marty Natchez had a really good shootout goal, but the Wild had 2 of them, Matt Zuccarello and Matt Boldy. McKinnon and Makar could not score in the shootout, but that's okay. The Avs are the first team in the NHL to 40 points on the season. They have 40 points, and they are the best team in the NHL. They are on a 14-game point streak now. So the win streak, that's what I love about hockey. Your win streak can end, but your point streak stays alive if you don't lose in regulation. And the Avs have only lost once in one regulation loss through November 28th. That's bananas.
It's unheard of.
Bananas. Oh my gosh. Here's more good news. We are midway through the first period in Dallas. And the Avs, let me pull up the standings here. They are 6 points ahead of Dallas. Both teams have played 24 games, so Dallas will have played an extra game here when this Mammoth game concludes. The Avs will have a game in hand on Dallas. And the Stars have 34 points on the season. They've won 2 straight. Avs have 40 points on the season, so 6 points ahead of Dallas. But right now, midway through the first period, the Stars hosting the Utah Mammoth, and Utah leads 1-0. Logan Cooley scored a minute in. He's having a really good season. Just got a nice contract extension. Good young player. Jake Ottinger in net for Dallas tonight. And the Mammoth lead 1-0. So we're all fans of the Mams.
Tonight we are, that's for sure.
Yes, we are.
Well, let me say this. And I hope I speak for all Mammoth fans that are of the Colorado variety.
Mm-hmm.
If the Mammoth go on to sweep the Stars this season and help take care of the Stars and, kind of bury them, kind of like Undertaker did a lot of his opponents, we'll drop the lawsuit. We'll drop it.
You can stay the Mammoth.
You can stay the Mammoth. You can do whatever you want to do. We won't complain. We won't cry.
Uh-oh. Looks like the Mammoth have scored again. So this is good news. This is really good news. Look, as far as the Avs loss today goes, they were going to lose again eventually.
Right.
And when you, in Minnesota, a team that's now won 7 in a row, who has found a really good young goaltender that they drafted in the first round a few years ago in Jesper Wallstedt. And, they pay Kaprizov $17 million. Matt Boldy, who I mentioned scoring the shootout, is a good young player. Brock Faber is a good young defenseman. Zeev Williams is a good young defenseman who's coming along fairly well out of the University of Denver. They're a good team in their building, and you took that game 65 minutes plus and came away with a point and lost in a stupid shootout. If you're gonna lose, that's how you want to lose, to a team like a formidable opponent where you still get the points and you're in it till the bitter end. That's fine. It's fine.
It happens. We'll be all right. Guys, don't panic like I did to open the show. Everything's going to be okay.
I am your Avs Sherpa. I will guide you through the dark times and tell you when to panic and when not to panic. This is not the time to panic. Kevin Rooney just scored for the Mammoth. So 2-0 Mams.
Let's go.
In Dallas.
You want us to drop that lawsuit? You keep winning. You hear me, Utah? You hear me?
We won't Yeti Coolers you, all right? So we're going to be the Yeti, but Yeti Coolers said, we got the trademark or copyright on Yeti. Couple other scores today that I want to mention in Colorado sports. Air Force goes into Fort Collins, and I'm really not surprised at all by this. They were slight road favorites at CSU, and Air Force doubled them up, crushed the Rammies, 42-21. I actually went to last year's Air Force CSU game in the Springs. CSU, it was a low-scoring game. CSU was winning throughout, but Air Force made a late push. The Rammies and Braden Fowler-Nicolosi, and led by Jay Norvell, held them off. Completely different Rams team right now. Norvell's out. Fowler-Nicolosi is going to transfer, I believe. He's not playing anymore.
Yeah.
Just bad times for the Rams this season. But Jim Mora Jr.'s coming. So the season ends for CSU at 2-10, 1-7, last place in the Mountain West. Nice win for Air Force, but a fitting end to this CSU Rams season.
This is one of the worst seasons I've ever seen in CSU football history. It was unbearable. I mean, between you have a quarterback who turned down other NIL offers to stay. Mm-hmm. And then for him to be like, you know what? It was probably one of the worst decisions I ever made. So now he has to hop in the portal. You have a coach who, on a game-by-game basis, we're sitting there waiting for him to get fired. He hands over the play calling. That doesn't work. He does get fired. And now players are undisciplined, so much so that they have players getting suspended for spitting on someone. Like, I don't know what this spitting thing is this season. This has been a wild one with the spitting. And then to add the cherry on top, you went ahead and paid for another man's leaving at UConn so that he can go ahead and start right away at CSU, because that's just how dysfunctional your football program is. I mean, this is wild, man.
Yeah,
it's
really rock bottom. It's rock bottom for CSU, but they got Jim Mora Jr. is a good hire.
He is, truly.
So I would expect better things than finishing last in the Mountain West next season. In another Colorado score here today, shout out to the CU Buffs basketball team. They win the Acrisure Holiday Classic in Palm Springs, California.
There you go. Let's go.
Tell them, Chris Mitchell. Get that air horn out.
I love those tournaments, man. They're so awesome.
A little 4-team, 2-game tournaments. Why not? Yesterday, the Buffs beat San Francisco 79-69, and today they beat the University of Washington 81-68. Buffs actually won the first half 47-30. Washington came out guns blazing in the second half. I think they tied this game at 52. But then the Buffs were able to regain control and end up winning by 13, 81-68. So the Buffs improved to 7-0 under Tad Boyle. Bangot Dak, the big, tall, well, he's tall. He's 7 foot. He's skinny. He's lanky. He's 7 foot tall. 15 points, 11 rebounds for the Buffs. They had a really good performance in the San Francisco game from freshman guard Isaiah Johnson. He scored 17 points to lead him, had 13 points today against Washington. They're a real deep team. They don't blow you away, but they got guys who can play in the starting five and off the bench. So I look in the Big 12, Tad Boyle CU Buffs, they're 7-0. They might be ranked here soon. They're on the verge of getting ranked.
It's getting real scary right now if you are getting ready to play CU, man. I mean, they look as good as they've looked to open the season in a very long time, because in the last few seasons, spring, they'll win a game they're not supposed to win against UConn, and then they'll lose a game that they're not supposed to lose against Rudy Poot State. So
Rudy Poo State. Hey, I remember the UConn win early last season, but that was coming off of, they get to the Sweet 16 with that KJ Simpson game winner early in the NCAA tournament. I think last year was like a rebuild type season, and I don't think that they're quite what they were a couple years ago when they went on just a little mini run in the tourney, but I think they really just won one game over Florida. But either way, solid team, and this Big 12 isn't crazy, you got Kansas in there. You got a couple decent teams, but hey, CU might be able to do a little something there in the Big 12. Let's see. I'm real quick. I'm going to check and see how, because CSU Buckets were playing in the Battle for Atlantis 5th place game today. Hey, good news for the Rams. All is not lost. The Rams won 5th place in the Battle for Atlantis.
let's go.
All right. They beat South Florida 83-68. Ali Farouk-Manesh improves his CSU Rams to 6-2. They lost to DU Denver over the weekend. Bad loss, but
just unbelievable loss, man.
Yeah, but hey, a little bit of a bounce back here later in the week as they get 5th place in the Battle for Atlantis. That's right. Okay. NFL Sunday is on Sunday. Can you believe it?
No.
Yeah. How about there was one game today. We had a Black Friday game. The Eagles lose their second straight game. Second straight game. Lost to the Cowboys, obviously. They lose at home to the Bears, 24-15. Eagles fall to 8-4. Bears improve to 9-3 and maintain their lead in the NFC North over the Packers, who are 8-3-1. I think we got a Bears-Packers game coming up soon. It could be this weekend. We'll look at the scoreboard here in a second. How about the Eagles, though, man? Something's wrong with something's wrong with all these teams.
Dude.
Chiefs, Ravens, I think the Bills as well. And now I'm putting the Eagles in that mix.
You should. It's starting to get to a point it's unexplainable. They can't seem to do the one thing that they've done well, and that's for each of those teams that you just named. They cannot find what works for them. They cannot stick to it, and they cannot continue to march towards greatness like they've done in seasons past. Now, have the other teams in the conference caught up to them? Of course, that's a part of it. The other part of it is we're kind of seeing a changing of the guard, because I think in the NFL, what you come to see and realize is it is so tough to stay at the top, that when you have teams that are like the Broncos, like the Patriots, who all they needed was a quarterback. I mean, we're seeing what that looks like in real time right now. And I just think it's playing out so much so in a way that I think is shocking the country, that what they have seen is not what they're seeing right now. And it's making some people around the country wonder, will they ever see it again? Which, yeah, the Chiefs and Bills and the Eagles, they all will bounce back in due time. But I can't promise you guys it'll be this season. I just can't promise it.
Yeah, what's going on with the Eagles is weird, because they were playing well. They were 8-3, and the Broncos went into Philly and won, and then they've lost 2 straight. And it was after the win in against the Lions, and then before the loss to the Cowboys, where all of a sudden now there's stories about Jalen Hurts like going into business for himself and eschewing the play calling of Nick Sirianni and the scheme that they want to run to help his stats, or he's playing his game,
whatever that means.
And apparently those were gripes coming from within the Eagles locker room. Were they coming from AJ Brown, who's been complaining all season long,
nonstop, despite
the Eagles, having previously, been winning games? They were winning. They were 8-2.
100-ish yards and a touchdown for AJ Brown today, by the way.
And that's the thing, is
he's getting his.
AJ Brown, 10 catches, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns today. So here's the sad thing. I guarantee you AJ Brown is happy today.
Agreed.
Because he had 10 catches, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a good fantasy game. If you had AJ Brown on your fantasy team, you can send him happy DMs. So AJ Brown doesn't care that his team lost. He cares that he had a good game. There's just, whether it's AJ Brown complaining, Jalen Hurts going into business for himself and upsetting his teammates, I think we are getting a new Super Bowl champion this year, one that we have not seen in the past couple years. Chiefs, Eagles, I don't see it. I think we're getting a new champion now. Is it going to be the most recent one before that, and that was the LA Rams?
I think it might be.
That's what it looks like right now.
Trending that way.
But it's been such a weird season that I don't know. But I don't think it's going to be the Eagles, and I don't think it's going to be the Chiefs.
No. And like you talked about earlier, Spring, we don't even know if the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs. When was the last time we've said that? When was the last time we had that thought? When was the last time that has been a reality? And it should give so much hope to those who do believe they have a chance to win it all this year, that you should do everything you can to capitalize on it. Like, I'll give you an example. So one thing we kind of got into earlier this week was we were talking about just kind of like all of the moves that have been made by different teams, whether it was in free agency or whether it was at the trade deadline. And you saw some teams stay pat that you was like, okay, well, maybe they should have made a move. And then you saw some teams that should have stayed pat that decided to make a move. And what it all showed us was there were some teams that stayed pat. They saw something. They saw blood in the water with some of these teams that have been dominating the AFC and the NFC for the last couple of years, that they're like, if I just stay the course. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing, is a lot of teams are just saying, if I just stay the course, I don't have to do anything crazy. I don't have to do anything disastrous to flip my team over.
You don't usually see trade deadline acquisitions in the NFL pay off in terms of a Super Bowl. The exception would be the Rams.
Yeah, with the
who
Von
traded
Miller
for
trade.
Von Miller. I think there was another. Did they trade for Jalen Ramsey? Was that a deadline trade? I know Vaughn was.
I think Jalen was an off-season trade.
Off-season. They might have made another trade that I can't, but definitely Vaughn. Typically, that's not how it's done in the NFL. I know it's fun when the trade deadline's there. It's not the NBA. It's not the NHL where it's like this arms race of moves.
Right.
But yeah, it's about player development, and it's these teams that have stayed the course. The Broncos stayed the course. The Patriots, have built through the draft, a little bit free agency. Those are the teams.
Agreed.
But as we said earlier in the show, it's funny to me. I honestly think the most dangerous team in the NFL right now is a 4-8 team, and it's the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not saying that they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they're dangerous.
They are.
And they're 4-8.
All they need is one spark.
And let's talk about, when we come back, let's talk about a couple of these games on NFL Sunday, including the Buffalo Bills have an interesting matchup, and so do the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a fascinating one for the Bengals' prospects of making the playoffs. They actually really need Buffalo to go in and beat the Steelers if Joe Burrow and the Bengals are able to make a run here, because if you look at the Bengals' schedule, if they can beat the Bills themselves the following Sunday, the rest of their schedule is very doable. So we'll talk about what's going on this Sunday in the NFL next. He's KJ Granderson. I'm Mark Springer. Chris Mitchell behind the glass. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
You're the owner of your career.
See how our teammates are growing in their career.
All right, wrapping up the Blitz, getting you set for the Nuggets and the Spurs NBA Cup action. Nuggets win. They're through to, well, the winner of this game is through to the round of 8. If the Nuggets win, they will be the team that is through. Mark Springer, KJ Granderson here. Quickly before we're out of here, KJ, let's just talk about a couple, 2, 3 of these NFL games because there's a lot of lopsided nothing games on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then we'll give our predictions for Broncos Commanders. The 3-8 Browns host the 8-4 Niners. Only reason I mentioned this game is it's Shedeur Sanders' second start. Browns are 4.5-point home underdogs. Look, Shedeur's gonna have some rough moments in the NFL.
It's just what it is.
Most, if not all, young quarterbacks do. But interesting, he's got the Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, on his team. Brock Purdy threw some picks against the Panthers, even though they won. It'll be interesting to see how Shedeur looks in his first home start in the NFL.
I am intrigued to see if you're Shedeur, how do you respond to adversity? Because it's one thing to ride your high horse coming off of a win, but he's going to see some real pressure, some real looks from a Robert Saleh experienced, defensive-minded, I want to kill the quarterback style DC. And so I want to see how does he respond to adversity because I think he's going to experience a lot of it early.
How about the 8-3 Colts and Daniel Jones's broken leg hosting the 6-5 Texans? CJ Stroud is back. He's out of the concussion protocol after the hit he took from Chris Abrams' drain. That was a legal hit several weeks ago now, but CJ Stroud is back. As the Texans look to improve to 7-5 and get within a game of the Colts in the AFC South if they can pull off the road upset.
I am going to go on a limb and say if the Texans beat the Colts this weekend, they are also going to win the AFC South.
I agree.
Well, and Houston has, I think the Broncos are the best defense in the NFL. Houston's number 2.
Easily.
So this is Daniel Jones on a wounded leg against Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter.
Derek Stingley Jr. just waiting to get another interception.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Indy let that Colts game get away from them. Woo!
Hey, things could get real here. We'll see.
How about the 7-4 Bills? Now we're Sunday afternoon. 7-4 Bills at the 6-5 Steelers. Bills 3-point road dogs. If the Joe Burrow Bengals want to get back into this, they got to win the AFC North. They need Buffalo to go into Pittsburgh and beat the Steelers.
They do, and this is one of the few times they will ask of this type of favor from the Buffalo Bills because I think the Bengals can catch the Steelers. We'll see if they have enough juice to actually do it because they do have some injuries right now. It all starts this weekend. If Buffalo can do it, which I think they will, go into Pittsburgh and win.
Oh, Buffalo needs this win. Josh Allen needs this win.
He
needs his tackles.
He doesn't have his tackles.
Yeah.
Against his pass rush? Oh, no.
Shouldn't Josh Allen, I don't care the situation, shouldn't he beat Aaron Rodgers with a fractured left wrist?
He should, but we've seen crazier things happen in the NFL this season.
We sure have.
Should have beat the Dolphins.
And finally, KJ, what's your prediction? Broncos, Commanders, Broncos 5.5-point road favorites.
All right, I hate to sound like the negative Nancy here, but
Don't
I
do
have
it.
the
Don't do it.
Broncos winning 25-22 on a walk-off field goal in Washington.
Hey, that's how the Broncos have won games this year. A little higher scoring than maybe some of the other ones. Some of them. But yeah, they've been winning these close games against teams like Washington, whether it's the Raiders, whether it's the Jets. The Broncos defense should destroy Marcus Mariota.
Should.
He should be picking himself off the turf and picking grass out of his face mask all game long. I'm going Broncos 27, Commanders 3.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how much I like this Broncos defense. Maybe the 27 is a little too much. But I don't think this is close. Surtain is back. You're playing Singleton's back. They're 100% healthy defensively. Maybe Jonah Ellis doesn't play with what he's been limited and is questionable with a hamstring injury. But guess what? Q Robinson's played well.
He's played really well.
Throw a pick to DeAndre Tillman and see what happens. That could be your defensive touchdown. That dude's a tight end in the open field. Strip sack, Tillman picks it up. He's going to stiff arm and truck dudes left and right. He's going to hurdle you.
All right, so if the Broncos win 27-3, can we put to bed all of this Bo Nix isn't good in the first 3 quarters thing?
No, because I'm saying the defense absolutely destroys him.
Okay.
So it's still the defense. Don't get it twisted.
Okay.
It's still the defense. Like I'm saying, like maybe 2 defensive tutties. And if not, just like setting the Broncos up for great field position on Sunday nights. All right, KJ, great work today. I enjoyed the show with you. Chris Mitchell, great work behind the glass. Coming up next, it is Mark Bertinoli with your pregame show for the Nuggets and the Spurs. Nuggets trying to win the group of death, West Group C. They need to beat the Spurs to do it. We'll find out what happens with the pregame show starting next on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.
Hooligans around in a big, beautiful, safe, tough new Ram truck from Johnson Auto Plaza. And with the money you save during the Wrap Up the Year sales event, you'll